Hi guys, I'm Rain. This is my YouTube channel where I document my progress as I work on my novels. This vlog is a special one in particular as it's about a new project, as in I've not made any dedicated videos for it before. I have discussed it in my January goals video as well as some other ones. I think my AuthorTube introduction video I talked about it a little bit. I refer to it as Project Struck. It's my gothic fantasy, gothic romance. There's some horror elements there. I pitch it somewhat as Twister meets Wizard of Oz with a dark academia supernatural bent to it, a very prairie, plains, Midwestern gothic setting, if that makes sense. I'm really excited to work on it. If you're wondering what's happened to Project Diadem, the romantic fantasy novel that majority of my vlogs have been about, I am still planning to return to it at some point, but I have decided to take a break, give myself some distance, and work on projects that I really care about that I haven't had time for, that I've been thinking about for years, mainly Project Struck. In the following vlog, you'll see me get to do that. I had a goal. I wanted to finally get a completed, clean first draft of Act 1 to share with my critique partners, and so that's what I did. So enjoy watching that. Set amidst the beginning and the end of the World Cup, and I'm very much a soccer girly, so at the end I'll include some clips of me getting to go to a World Cup game myself in my hometown of Kansas City, Missouri. Very exciting stuff. That's been a good time, and I'm feeling really excited about where we go from here in terms of Project Struck. If this is interesting to you at all, if you want to follow along, please like and subscribe. It will motivate me to actually keep documenting my progress and posting these videos, and I would really appreciate it. With that, enjoy, and now I'm gonna go watch the World Cup final. Vamos a Argentina. Hi guys, it's been quite a bit since I've vlogged at all about my writing. For a while, it was quite a bit in which I hadn't written at all. But I did make teeny tiny bit of progress towards the end of May. Not on Project Diadem. I've just had to kind of like set that aside. I started working on my gothic fantasy weather related book. I think I'm on track to like finish a good first draft of Act 1, hopefully within the next like week. Today I'm at a coffee shop again to do that, and I guess if I have more things to talk about, I'll update. I can't just wait for the perfect times to vlog, or else I'm not gonna vlog. And so my walks are a good time to give updates. Yesterday, I did get a lot done. I wrote 3,000 words in like 2-3 hours. I'm back, sorry. Patagonia just won. And I probably should have been home and not on my walk to watch that. But anyways, I did write a lot yesterday. I was at the cafe for like probably 3 hours, and I think I wrote like 3,000 words. Problem is, I'm not sure that I liked much of it. I was doing 2 POVs. I was addressing the kind of like main love interest. It's a gothic fantasy, but it's heavily structured like a romance as well, because I mean gothic romance go hand in hand. The 3,000 words, I would say maybe like 1,000 of those were finishing up a POV from the guy's point of view, and then the rest we're trying to get back into what the oh no, my mom's calling about Patagonia. I am trying to get these 2 scenes at like a good turning point to wrap up Act 2. And like I know it's happening plot wise and even internally, but I'm having a little bit, especially for the main like female character, I'm having a little bit of an issue kind of landing the plane. Since this is a gothic, there's already been like the supernatural introduction throughout. She's been running away from it her whole life, and she needs a very good reason to no longer run away from it. The catalyst meant she had to return to the place where it's happening, right? So that's what's happening. But the end of Act 2 needs to, the end of Act 1. Have I been saying Act 2? Act 1. The end of Act 1 needs to be about choosing to confront this while also kind of handling the A plot that she's like already been kind of sat on. I don't know. I have to figure out how. Right now, the way that I have it is just not working. So 3,000 words written. I think I'm going to rewrite at least 1,000 of them, if not 1,500. But it's something. I got words done. I don't know if I'm going to write any tonight. I have so much to do. But I'm at least walking. I'm at least vlogging. I might be able to post my March video that I filmed and edited a very long time ago. It's another writing session at the cafe. Have I gotten to write much this past week? No. But there's also been a lot of World Cup. There's been a lot of things. School stuff. Grading, all the stuff, right? But that means I'm still stuck on the like 3,000 words that I wrote last that I hate and need to rewrite because it's not doing what I needed it to do. Today we are back at that because I can't finish Act 1, at least the first draft of Act 1, the first like 0 draft of Act 1. I can't finish that until I get that done, and then I think I should have like 1 or 2 short scenes left after that to kind of like wrap up the like turning points of Act 1, and then I think I can go back to the beginning and revise some of the early portions of the like intro to the book to make them a little bit more in line with my vision now, and then I should have a solid draft 1 of Act 1 to give to my critique partners sometime this month. I meet with them for my book, I think, mid-July, and it's July 5th, so they're not gonna have much time to read it if I don't finish it soon. So we'll see. Fingers crossed. We got a USA game tonight against Belgium. What's crazy is that by the time I'm editing this and by the time this is posted, it'll be the future where I know whether or not this is our last game. So I'm sure that'll make me feel a certain way when I'm editing. Sad about Mexico last night. They did a good job. They fought really hard. I did write a bit yesterday. I rewrote that. It wasn't that I rewrote a scene. I kind of like wrote a new scene, 2 new scenes really, to encompass, to like replace what I had written before and squeeze the same elements in, but in like a different way that accomplished more at the same time. I think what happened is I had a lot of things I needed to accomplish. I realized when I read through them that it was a lot of mini scenes put together trying to accomplish a bunch of different things, and obviously that's like fine, but I know from the experience of the Project Diadem, working on that for 3 years and going from the first draft to revising it a lot, that is not the best way to do things. The best way to do things is trying to accomplish as much as you can in one scene rather than trying to accomplish each thing with a bunch of different scenes. Even if in my mind, I thought that I was like, oh, well, they're all together in the same chapter, but I was still like moving the setting and moving the like, there was better word economy, better like, there was just things that I could do better to accomplish this all at the same time. It's still, not exactly where I want it to be. The turn into Act 1 needs to happen around this point, and I'm trying to set it up for both characters so that they both have that turn, that choice, that moment in their own POV around this time. But I'm still kind of having issues feeling like that is clear, because like I think the turn for the romantic plot is very clear. The turn for the external plot, like the main plot that has like gotten them here, is really clear. But it's like a gothic too, so there's also the supernatural element. And so the supernatural turn, obviously they're in a new world where like they're in the new world section, sort of, or about to be. The supernatural is there, it's going to be there, and the dread is there already, but I need a choice element, I think, still. And I think the choice is like not embracing it, but like kind of acceptance of this without it being full on like midpoint level acceptance, if that makes sense. Anyone who's like working with like that kind of gothic or supernatural kind of like element maybe understands what I'm saying. Yeah, I don't know. So I'm trying to like figure it out. We'll see. I think the other issue is that in Diadems, I had like a mystery where it felt very natural in what I was like, how I was seeding a lot of the information for both the reader and the characters. And here I'm having trouble with like some of the mystery element to the curse going on, where I'm like, how much, because one of the main characters does know more than the other, but I'm like, how much do they know and when is really kind of getting to me. And also like there's so much backstory here, and before it was a lot easier for me to like drip feed the backstory in Project Diadem very slowly and like in these big moments, and it felt very satisfying, I think. But here it's like there's a lot that I feel like I need to like get clear in Act 1 before we can move on to Act 2, which sets me up for a lot of like info dumping moments, and I don't really want that. But I don't know, I'm trying to figure out when to let the reader in on certain things, when to let characters in on certain things, and I'm just kind of feeling around. First draft vibes, I guess, is what it is. Okay, it's a few hours later, a bit worse for the wear, but I think I had to do a lot of like grading stuff. But then I checked back in with my book again, and again, this like turning point into Act 2 stuff was like really not clicking with the story. There was just like, I was like, if these scenes are the Act 2 turning point, there's too much needed to be explained for those scenes to also make sense and like be gratifying. There was too many things going on there that needed to be accomplished, regardless of Act 2 structure. So it's hard to like fit in what was needed for the Act 2 beats to be met, while also fitting in what like would make those specific scenes more impactful. I don't know if this makes sense. Basically, the setting that I chose for those scenes required a lot more information that would be really impactful if I were to include it. There's too much, and also there was like an earlier moment that fit the Act 2 turning point a lot better, but I was like, oh no, it's like too early, like it's not. But I started reading a lot more like different like blogs and websites on different like ways to structure the break into Act 2, or like different ways to kind of make that break according to like story genre, and especially for like gothics, like there's like some wiggle room there. I think I like, you know, for gothics it could be like the closing of the trap, but I was like, okay, well that's fine, but what's the choice? Like the choice is no longer committing, really. I mean, it is in a sense, but it's like a different sort of commitment. And so I just need to figure out how that translated for my characters. I think I have a better idea now. I think I'm moving it to the earlier scene, and I was looking at all the things that I need to add before that scene anyways. It's not going to be that early pacing wise. Right now, it's at about 15,000 words is where that Act 1 would end. And I was like, okay, well, that's a little bit early. Like, am I accomplishing everything I need to accomplish in the first act? Am I setting up everything I need to set up? Well, there were already areas in that first act that I wanted to go back and add some more like scenes to help with the setup, help with this like building the normal world before things change, right? I think with that, it could easily end up being 20 to 25,000 after. And also keeping it on the shorter side will be good, because I would rather it be underwritten this time in the first draft than overwritten, because the additions we make later might be more efficient, feasible additions than the additions that I'm making now when I can't see the like whole roadmap very clearly. So I feel better about this. Now I don't have to worry about these problem scenes anymore, and I can go back to just kind of like focusing on completing Act 1 with this being the new turning point, I think. Wish USA luck tonight. Okay, so this is either a really bad idea or a really good idea. I'm trying to get some writing done from my backyard pool, which I've been trying to get to not be so cloudy for like the past like month. It's hot as flip here in Florida. But here's the thing, I wanted to be outside, I wanted to be in the pool, and I also wanted to write, or at least get some writing thoughts down. They were not the kind that I could process or do on my Alpha Neo, and they were not the kind that I could do on my phone or on my like by hand. I needed my laptop. So this is the setup I've come up with. I'm a little horrified that like I'm gonna regret this, but I'm being as careful as I can, and I'm getting some stuff done. So, you know, fingers crossed, I guess. Pack things up. I just got back from my walk, my evening walk. It is, I don't know what time it is. It's 9:03. I have so much I need to do that's not writing, right? I needed to do some work today that I would like to do now since I didn't do it. I also need to clean my kitchen, because I think if I let it go on to tomorrow like this, I think it's just gonna mess a lot of things up, okay? But before getting to any of the other things, I think, so I've been working on the book a lot today, specifically looking at this chunk that I've settled on as like, okay, no, this is definitely my Act 1 sequence now. And it's like, you know, 8 chapters, I wanna say. And there's room to kind of like, it's like about 15,000 words, and there's room to like expand quite a bit in a few areas. And there's 2 scenes that need to be written that are like in between existing scenes, both pretty short. And then once I get that done, I can focus on like going back through and making changes and kind of strengthening the vibes that I like and inserting those same vibes in the areas where it's lacking. This is a gothic, so vibes are really important. The dread, the like oppressive like weight of the story is really important. And while in the past this has been something that I've paid attention to on like second rounds, like second drafts or third drafts even, I'm taking a different approach to the story because I've spent like 3 years thinking of the story and like plotting it and kind of figuring out what I wanted, or I guess more like 2 years. Either way, I've been thinking about this for a long time, and I also just came off of a huge revision project with my Project Diadem, a lot of revisions. I'm on draft 4 of that now, and basically each draft's taken anywhere from like 9 months to 11 months, like just under a year. So I'm letting myself edit as I go here, and I think that approaching it in act chunks, which was something that ended up being really helpful for me with this last draft of Diadem, I think that's going to be helpful for me here. And specifically, I think I'm going to try and like on this first draft of Project Struck, focus on Act 1, which I've got the main base of it, the like main first draft. I have the 2 like mini scenes I need to finish, and then I'm going to go through and edit it so that it's really seamless. Then I'll do Act 2A, Act 2B, Act 3 in the same manner. And I'll probably, I think, do again what I did with Project Diadem, where once I got to Act 2B, or once I finished Act 2A, I then kind of went through and looked at the whole first half of the book together and edited that way. I think that was really helpful for me, and I got feedback at that like midpoint mark, just so I could get an idea of what needed to be strengthened in the first half before moving on. I'll probably do something similar with struck as well for this first draft. I'm just really like, before, a lot of my projects have been about finishing them and then getting to the revision stage, and like, you know, very discovery based, very headlights writing based. This is headlights writing as well in certain many ways, but in terms of like the big things, I've had a lot planned. I've had a lot of thoughts over the ages, and like, you know, things can change and things will change, but I want it to be a lot cleaner of a first draft, just so that when I do go back and revise it even more later on, the motivation is easier. There's nothing worse than coming back to a draft and being like, oh, all that motivation that I had at finishing my story is like plummeting when I'm realizing that none of this reads very well. And I think that if you're writing drafts for the first time, you really shouldn't worry about that. You should just like focus on finishing it. And like once you get that skill in you, like once you know that you can finish, don't worry. Like then you can kind of like experiment some more, but focus on like the skill of like long-term commitment and finishing before you start worrying about clean drafts. I just have really enjoyed the drafting process for Diadem, and now that I'm like writing struck again, I'm enjoying the drafting process so much so in comparison to how much I hate revision, that it was a lot easier for me in draft 2 and even draft 3 of Diadem, where like when a scene was having issues, it was just so much easier for me to just like honestly rewrite all of it and then come back and look at the other old version and go, is there anything here that I actually need? Cool, and pull it over. Anytime I had to like line edit to fix big issues, it was hard, and I just would rewrite instead, like rewrite stronger. And so if I already know that I want to rewrite stronger, I like to rewrite stronger from the beginning. If that doesn't, anyways, I'm gonna see if I can't use the next like 25 minutes to write one scene, and then maybe another 10 minutes to write literally like the smallest scene ever, like a few paragraphs. We'll see what we can do, and then I'll go clean my kitchen, and then I'll come back here, stay up, and do some grading. So we'll see. Wish me luck. And with that, at 17,407 words, I have a first draft for every single scene, I think, at least so far, in Act 1. So I have Act 1 completely drafted. I'm going to go through it again and like, you know, fix things and change things. And there's already scenes I know where I want to add more. I like purposefully underwrote a lot of this so that I could flesh out things when I knew more about my characters, about their journey, which is now. So I am excited to that. I do think I can get up to like 22K. Not that I wanted to go much further than that. If I could keep Act 1 around 20K, that'd be awesome. I think that'd give me a lot to work with. But I do want to make sure that the setup is all there and all the vibes are there. So I'm feeling good. I really can't be working on this anymore, even though I'm at that point where I'm like, oh, I really want to work on it. But I'm gonna go finish making dinner. I have some stuff boiling for pasta, and then I'm gonna do some work, but maybe I'll watch something or listen to a book while I do that. So we'll see. I'm feeling good, guys. I'm feeling excited about this. The story is making sense, and it's fun to write, so that's always a good sign. I was working at a cafe today, and of course I took no b-roll, so no footage of that. And I have coffee now that's not even from that same cafe. I wasn't vibing the coffee there today for some reason, so I went and got coffee right now from my favorite place that I love. I don't like working here as much unless I'm working outside and it's too hot to work outside, but I like the coffee, so I was like, okay, again, I have Act 1 fully drafted, but I want to like make it nice and readable for my critique partners and do some like re-editing and just change some things according to like some feedback that I already do have. Problem here is that I was like, I'm not super sold on the subjects that my meteorologists are studying prior to the start of the story when things change and they're going to be studying something different. So I had to do a lot of like deep dives into what those meteorologic topics were going to look like, especially considering the fact that this is supposed to take place in a world that's basically our world, but it's not. Secondary world like ours in a 1950s-ish timeline, academic East setting at the beginning, moves to the rural plains prairie Midwest for the rest of the story. So it needed to be something meteorologically sound for that time period and with like the right terminology. And it's one thing to research meteorology as someone who's not a meteorologist. It's another thing to try and understanding terms that are used back then and like what people knew back then is somewhat easier than trying to make sure that you're not using terminology that wasn't used back then. You know what I'm saying? Like it's harder to be like, oh wait, shoot, like I was phrasing something in a certain way and then it clicked to me and I was like, would they even phrase it this way back then? Framework of how people thought about meteorology back then was just completely different. So I don't know if any of this makes sense. I'm a scientist in health science, so I have my own, in modern day health science, so I have my own biases that kind of like frame how I'm thinking about science, and then I'm like, oh wait, they didn't do science like this then. And so that is also affecting. Anyways, whatever. I figured out what they're working on. For emotional writing, I want everything to connect back to like their inner flaws, and like I want it to like inform how they approach things, or I want their science to be informed by how they think, and I want that to like lead up into the conflict for more conflict, of course. And so I was thinking about it and I was like, okay, well, if this is what they're studying, how does this connect to that? And I found like a really easy path that was like already natural because of how I got to my conclusion today. It's all working out really well. I'm excited. That's a big lift off my chest because I was like, oh god, I kept highlighting like brackets, like figure out later in the manuscript whenever that stuff came up. So anyways, but I really need to do other work. I really need to clean. I need to do so many things. Also, Argentina plays tonight. Fingers crossed. But I just want to write. I just want to work my book. So we'll see what happens. I don't know. I was supposed to do things yesterday that were work and school related and house cleaning related, but got distracted by the soccer games and then let myself work on my book during the soccer games too. Today's Sunday. I really have to do work things. I have to. So we're gonna do it. Gonna hype myself up for it, but I would like to be able to also look at my book at some point because I wanted to send it to my critic partners, this first act today, but the act one still isn't really where I want it. And I could just send it and be like, oh, it's not a clean draft, but I'm just really trying to push myself this time to get like the language at least to be a little closer to my vision. Not because the language needs to be close to your vision in the first draft, it really doesn't, but because this is a gothic and I'm trying to make sure I understand the tone and the vibe of the story and where I want it to go. I'm trying to get as close as I can there with some of this language so that like it helps inform the trajectory that I want to go for the next like 2 acts of the book, if that makes sense. But I don't know. I'm gonna try and do a few things. I'm gonna try and do some TA work. I'm gonna try and do some work for the class that I teach, and then some work for the class that I'm helping revamp its curriculum, and then maybe a little bit of my like hospital consulting work. If I can get something done from all of those arenas, then I can work on my book. But then I need to come back to my PhD concept paper stuff really, really, really badly. So fingers crossed, guys. I really want to get a lot of stuff done today, but it's like 2:40 p.m. I'm feeling sluggish, so, but we're gonna be productive today, okay? Not her, though. She is going to be a lazy little menace. That's what she's going to be doing. Don't let her fool you. She looks cute and innocent right now, but she's gonna be the problem today. I was getting some things done. I got some stuff done for the class that I teach, and I got some stuff done for the class that I'm helping revamp. And then I was switching to my hospital consultation work, and it's like such a block because there's so much to do, and it's like so many moving parts to like pull in at once, and it's been making me very like anxious whenever I look at this project. And so I've gotten behind on it, or I haven't really gotten behind. I've been working on it, but I've been working on the easier parts of it, or the more urgent parts rather. I was just getting really anxious looking at all the other stuff that needs to happen, even though it's like just focusing on it a little bit would help, but it started to make me very anxious and want to not do anything at all. And I need to fight against that. It's like almost 6 p.m. on Sunday. I only have so much more time to do things today. I did want to clean a little bit. My house is a mess. I did want to go on a walk, probably. I don't know. I might let myself read through my like draft a little bit as like a treat to kind of break away from the anxious stuff and give me like a little something to be happy about and still be productive with. But I don't want to give in to the not wanting to work on this project feeling, because I really need to, and I think I'll feel a lot better once I make a lot of progress on it. So I don't have much vlogging, like, behind the scenes content from the past few days. And I feel like I certainly look like I've been through it, and it's true. This is the face of someone who fried her brain from the amount of time she spent working on her book, even though she should have been working on other things. Today's Tuesday. I think I last talked to you guys on Sunday, maybe Saturday. I don't really know. But I was supposed to stop working on my Act 1 and move to other things. I sort of did. And then I moved back to my Act 1. And Sunday night, I realized, I was like, man, this is like so close being able to send to my critique partners, and I really don't want it to follow me into the week when I really do need to do other things. So I stayed up to like 3 a.m., you know, going through and like editing. Well, it's not editing, it's like revising based on some feedback I had for some of the last chapters. Like they needed to like reflect a different turning point than what they did. And so then the next day, Monday, yesterday, I was like, man, again, I just want to send this to my critique partners, but I was reading it through the like 50 pages that I had, okay? It was about 20,000 words, about 57 pages, you know, double spaced or something like that. And I was like, I just need to do one more little edit, not to like make it, I don't want to make this seem like this is a like perfectly clean draft. I just wanted to make sure that it was readable and that there was continuity, because I had written so many of these like scenes out of order. And now that I was putting it all together, I wanted that story to feel very like continuous for this first clean draft. And so yeah, I ended up working on that for a lot of the day in between some PhD stuff. And then I went to a coffee shop around like 4:30 that was going to close at 6, and I was like, okay, I'm literally going to just keep me reading through this on my Kindle and like marking up the things that I'm like, oh wait, that's wrong, or something like that whenever I see it on my computer. And just like, I knew that I was going to notice those things more if I was reading on my Kindle app. And the coffee shop's closing. I'm not done, but I have like a few, like just like 3 chapters left. I'm like, I can do it. It's like 8 chapters in Act 1, okay? So I then go to my car and I'm doing it on my phone. I'm not like, I'm like I could have gone home. I just was like, I need to finish this. Then I was in the car for like another hour. Thank God it wasn't hot yesterday. I mean, it was, but it was like raining at this time, so it was fine. Yeah, I'm talking like very fast. I apologize for that. I was talking even faster yesterday. I was so like focused that this like made my like heart rate so intense, and I didn't get to go on my walk because of the storm. So I had like no decompression yesterday, and I went to bed with my heart beating like a million miles a minute. But anyways, I finished. I sent it to my critique partners. I sent it to my mother, who is in a bad mood, so who knows when she's gonna read it. I looked back at it afterwards and was like, oh, actually, this might be trash. But that's not the point. The point of the first draft is not for it to be amazing. It's for it to exist. And my goal with this first draft of Act 1, it's still, you know, some part of the first draft that's complete. My goal with this one was to let myself edit as I went, not necessarily to make it perfect, but to like get it closer to the vision that I wanted in terms of how it makes somebody feel when they read it, because that's such a big part of this book. And like, I need to know what that looks like early on in order to like keep setting it up, but also for it to be really clean in terms of like readability and continuity, right? I had a lot of like stuff that I was writing in my last book. I would write the chapters and then I'd move on. And then at some point I'd be like, oh, one of those chapters has to like not exist anymore, but I'll figure that out in like draft 2, like that kind of thing. Like stuff would come up and I would be like, okay, everything I've written so far doesn't really count anymore, but I'm just gonna keep moving forward. I had to stop because one of my critique partners just responded to the email that I had sent yesterday with my stuff. So I feel so bad because we're supposed to be meeting Wednesday next week, and it's Tuesday. And I sent this last night, and again, it's like 50 pages. So I told them, I was like, you guys don't have to read all this. Sometimes I know that they want to know, like, or they want to read it, like, if it's there. So, yeah, and that's how I feel. If my critique partners have it, I want to read it, if that makes sense. I am happy with how readable it is. I was looking over it and I was like, wow, there's a lot of exposition and info dumping in areas where I was like, ooh, don't do that, like fix that really quick. And I fixed it in the sense that it's not unbearable and you can keep reading, but it's still pretty bad. And there's a few, the male main character, his POVs are not, I'm convinced that they will end up changing pretty vastly, just in terms of like they're conveying a lot of necessary information, but not in an effective way whatsoever. But they do their job for now. So even if that does change a little bit, I don't think it's going to change like the plot. Feeling good. I need to do work. I need to do my job. No more getting hypnotized by my draft, okay? But you know what, guys? We did it. We got a full, complete first draft, a clean first draft of Act 1. It's given me a lot of like hope for Act 2 and Act 3, hoping that the feedback that I get and like what people notice and like about Act 1 will help determine some of the directions that I'm still deciding on in Act 2. There are some different like paths that I am considering that I'm not sold on yet. So we'll see, but thanks for coming along. And yeah, I hope to bring more content to you on Project Struck and, you know, at some point Project Diadem again. But I feel good. We're ending this one on a very high note for me personally, emotionally. I'm feeling really good about it. So bye guys.